All the answers you need, all the answers you will ever need for your entire life are right here, deep inside of you. Because you are the guru. You are the Buddha. You are the enlightened master, whether you know it or not. And you say, how can this be? I know myself as Ted or Alice or Fred or Gary. And I was born in New York or Chicago or wherever. And this is who I am, except that's not correct. That's not who you are. That's who you were taught that you were. But the real answer, the real truth of you goes much deeper than that. And so in this video, we're going to clear up that confusion and find out how you can discover who and what you really are and to step into all that power and that potential. How could I possibly be something other than the human being I know myself to be? Well, the answer is pretty simple. And let's start with your childhood. Let's start with how you came to know yourself as yourself. So you were born and you grew up in a family and you were given a name and they said, this is who you are. And while you were, and you were this sort of perfect child. And while you were growing up, certain things happened, bad things happened that you didn't know how to process, you didn't know how to deal with. And this started to form an identity. And it started to kind of form two identities. It had formed the identity of this child who was sort of in pain. He felt unloved or unworthy, whatever it was. So there was that identity. And then there was the identity that arose to fix that. And that identity became how you're going to succeed in life. It became your career or your goals or your ambitions, right? And all of this is a sort of false personality. It's the pain that originally happened is a falsehood, right? Because let's say this pain came because your father didn't pick you up when you were young. They forgot you were at soccer or something like that. And what happened in the child's brain was something akin to, they don't love me. I'm not worth anything. Nobody cares about me, something like that. So the initial pain is real, but the lasting pain from that is this message of I'm not worthy and I'm no good. And that becomes this life sentence. So if you look in your life, that idea will play out again and again. If you notice, you have these same patterns of I'm not chosen, or I'm always left out, or everybody else gets love but me. Whatever your particular brand of sort of pain and trauma that occurred in your early life. And then comes the compensation, because nobody can stand to be unloved, etc. So now we're going to go out and we're going to get love. And so you develop this second personality, which is just as false, because it's all based on the lie that you're not loved, you're not lovable. And the reason all this is a lie is because you are lovable, because there is an indwelling spirit in you that is infinite and eternal and loving and happy by nature, but it's covered up by all this other stuff. And all this other stuff is who you've known yourself to be. So you're living your whole life, and whether you're successful or not successful doesn't really matter. You've adopted certain ideas about yourself and you've lived your life a certain way. And it's all a replay of this past. You either are not successful because you have fallen into believing these terrible stories that your mind tells you about yourself, or you have worked so hard to overcome that pain that you become successful in life. It has not removed that pain, that sense of I'm not enough, or again, whatever it is. And the thing is whether you identify as a success or whether you identify as a failure doesn't really matter. They're both not really the case, because you are you. You are this perfect sort of creature inside. And the problem is the voices of the past are so loud that you can't hear that small, still, quiet voice inside of you that is the truth of who you really are. And so you believe yourself to be a human being with a certain set of problems, and you're trying to solve them. And it's only kind of through this suffering and that life brings you that some of this starts to get torn down. Those false structures start to fall away. And you start to tap into this. And sometimes addicts are the luckiest people because things have gone so wrong for them and so early that they've hit a bottom. And in that bottom, they've discovered something there that is incredibly valuable and priceless and eternal. And it's a part of who they really are. And if you're lucky and this happens to you several times, then you start to wake up to the truth, which is whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it spirit or soul, that is actually who and what you are. And that is not just eternal, but it is also an inseparable part of, if you want to call it God, you can, but the universe. And in other words, whatever you call this power, whether it's God, you are an inseparable part of that. In the same way, the relationship is something like this. In the same way that a wave is to the ocean. You look at a wave and it looks almost individual. It's got its own shape and its own identity. But then it's also part of the whole. It's never really not part of the whole. There's a brief moment where it seems like it's separate, but then it comes back into the whole, and that's very similar. You are this wholeness. You are this truth. That is what you are. And you're living in this bad dream of being a human being trapped in a body. And so now the time has come to wake up from that dream. Now the time has come to start to recognize and see this false outer shell, and to start to step into the beauty and power of who you really are. And you really are beautiful and powerful, despite what the world has told you, despite what your own head tells you. And so there's nothing more important in life than waking up to the truth of your own being. And luckily enough, this has happened for me. And the difference in my life is astounding. Going from a person, a human being, trying to get success, trying to prove themselves in the world, to somebody who knows their own inherent worth, it makes life worth living. And it allows me to live with a great ease and sort of comfort in the knowing that all is well and I'm okay. So I urge you to look inside yourself and to start to see the things that I'm talking about. Start to see these false ideas. And these false ideas are so powerful because they're colored by such strong emotion. And that's how you kind of see these things, is you start with these strong emotions and you start with the voices and the thoughts underneath. And you start to see that these voices and these thoughts are not the truth. You kind of know they're not the truth anyway, but they're just so strong and so compelling. So if you're interested in sitting down with me and starting to tap into this deeper truth of who you are, you can look down in the description below and you'll see a link for a free one-on-one consultation. If you're interested in learning more about this and tapping into your true and full potential, you can also join my free online community called Unblock Your Brilliance. That's the point of it, is to get clear away all the garbage so that you can see how brilliant you are and start to express that in the world. So look down in the links below, and while you're down there, please like and subscribe so that I can continue to create this content. And just in your most quiet moments, tune in to that still voice inside of you and ask it and talk to it and see if it really is true that you are this eternal, enlightened being, that you are the guru, and see what it says. Cheers.